Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 254, your weekly little get-together where we talk about recent gaming news. I'm, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
David, tonight, Alien's Fireteam has been officially announced, Elden Ring footage has been leaked, Hardsuit Labs is hit with layoffs, and we need to recap what happened at Sony's State of Play, as well as that weird Pokemon anniversary, I don't know what you call it, direct? We'll be getting into all of that and more throughout the night. But first, I want everyone here to know that this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're out there watching at Twitch TV/GamePoints every Tuesday at 8 p.m. or later over at YouTube.com/GamePointsPC, please feel free to join in the conversation. I apologize. I'm also trying to read chat at the same time. Hey there, King. How are you doing? You see, what happens is that my eyes, at least the eyes of my brain, if you want to
use that term, I understand.
Start exactly separating, and I'm reading two things at once. And I start stumbling over myself. David.
Yes.
Now, that new Baldur's Gate patch for Baldur's Gate 3 dropped.
Yes, it did, and I'm so upset that I haven't played it yet.
Unfortunate. Do you happen to know what's in it? Because I know you're kind of like you're who I go to keep abreast on Baldur's Gate news, because I'm deliberately kind of keeping myself in the blind.
Among fixes and balance changes and general patchiness, the biggest thing, the thing that would jump out to you specifically, is they added a new playable class to the early access, and that is the Druid.
Okay. So I don't think there was anything that was going into the nature side of the spells at all in that game yet, so the Druid would be kind of a brand new way to play around things. I'd imagine they added a bunch of spells and stuff to the game as well.
Yep. Okay. And from what I'm hearing, like I said, I haven't played it yet, but you can do the whole turn into a bear thing and all that fun stuff.
Interesting. Cool.
Yep.
As we have discussed before, I am not playing the new patches when they come out, but I'm really looking forward to that game, so I'm turning to you to kind of fill me in on what the highlights are without spoiling anything.
Yeah, why not? Normally I'd have more to say because I have been playing the early access of that game quite a bit because I am a sucker for basically anything that company makes. I like Larry, and what am I going to do? But yeah, this time I didn't. I sat down to play it and realized it didn't auto-update and realized it was going to show up 40 gigs later and went, maybe I'll wait for the weekend.
I'll share more news on it later then. Yes, King, that would technically be 6 eyes on me if we're counting them that way. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and move on to the news of the week here. We have a myriad of stories that I want to get to. Let's start with this first one, though. This is via Video Game Chronicle. A leaked Elden Ring trailer is being circulated online. Have you seen this trailer yet?
Yes. Well, although it's not like the whole trailer, right? I didn't see a consistent start to finish video. I saw cuts, pieces of it.
Yeah, and it's on a handy cam. I don't want to say handy cam, but it's clearly being filmed with something that someone's trying to hide.
Yeah, someone's recording it off of a TV screen or something.
To the article itself. The video, which has been seen by VGC but cannot be shared for legal reasons, is labeled as Bandai Namco Confidential. And it's funny, as you're watching this trailer, that kind of pops up over and over again as a watermark on the video. So just giving more credence, that's legit. Back to the article. It shows a significant amount of off-screen footage for what appears to be a planned gameplay trailer for the From Software title. I hate that company's name. The gameplay footage then shows a montage of familiar Souls-style melee combat, boss battles against a fire-breathing dragon, and a large sword-wielding foe, and a glimpse at horseback combat in a large open environment. David, I'm hearing that this is likely going to be shown during a micro-event/official announcement that will be happening soon.
Okay. Quote-unquote soon?
Yeah. Don't think days. Think weeks. But definitely not months. My gut tells me probably by the end of April.
All right. That's
from
fair.
What they're dropping. But no one's really confirming that to me one way or another. But I am hearing within weeks.
I'm just happy that my luck tracked the way I assumed it was, because if you remember at the beginning of the year, I made a bullshit prediction that this game would be canceled in the hope that my luck was so bad that I would get more information about it soon by saying that out loud. And look at that. We only had to wait till March.
So you're all in on the hype train on this, it sounds like.
It's
as hype as you get for a video game.
Yeah, usually. I probably won't pre-order it, and honestly, after Sekiro, which is just my least favorite FromSoft game, I'm gonna wait to see what this game plays like before I get all really excited about it.
Sekiro took me a while. So when I first started playing Sekiro, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, but I know I've mentioned to other people in the past at least. I tried playing it like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and that game whoops your ass if you do that. Because the thing I never do in either one of those two games, even though it's a valid playstyle, is parry.
Mm-hmm.
But in Sekiro, it is mandatory that you parry. And it's interesting to hear people who Sekiro was like their first style of that game, and how they're able to pick it up a lot quicker than people who are used to playing Souls and Bloodborne style games, and they just struggle with it way longer first.
Yeah, I had some difficulties with it, but I tend to play like faster characters. My problem with it was the fact that there was no build variety. There's zero reason to replay that game once you beat it.
Other than harder difficulty, etc.
Yeah, but because there's no other way to play it. You have one weapon. You have one like main mechanic. I don't know.
All right, fair enough. I can get behind that. For me, that was never a problem, because when I played Bloodborne or when I played any of the Demon Souls, I have my specific weapon that I like to use. I have my specific loadout that I like to use, and I'll keep playing that over and over and over again.
Yeah, see, I'm the guy that I'll do it the first time, and I'll use the fast attack weapon, and I'll be super dex build, and I'll do that, and then I'll build super mega tank dad build, and then I'll do a magic guy, and then it's fun.
All right,
that's what's interesting to me.
Is there anything about this trailer that you saw that made you kind of get hyped on it?
Unfortunately, no.
There's not much here. It
like,
sounds like
nothing
they have
about
Pip
this
Torrens
made me any more excited than seeing the Demon's Souls trailer.
Okay. It does sound like they have Pip Torrens narrating it, by the way. Pip Torrens, he was Hairstar in the Preacher series. He is the curator from the Dark Pictures games. I like him quite a bit. I did hear his voice, and I was like, that's got to be who that is. I can't say for certain if it is or not, but definitely sounds like him. It's brighter than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I get that vibe. It didn't look quite as dark and depressing as the mainline Souls games tend to seem, which is extra strange considering it's a partnership of FromSoft and George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
Who's the author of Dark, kind of. Like, I imagine this game is rife with tragedies. We'll see.
Do you think this game is this year?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you think it's next year or farther?
I'd say next year.
All right. My gut tells me it's going to be next year as well. Even if this announcement comes out and they announce it for this year, I get the distinct feeling it's going to slip until next year, because
I think this is going to be that sweet spot, like February, March, like surprise hit game for next year.
Without necessarily really being a surprise, because people are clamoring over this one.
Yes.
I think
but this is a game that's really been built during the whole everyone's stuck at home, working from home.
Yes, and that has been a big challenge for these people. That's why it's been so long since we've heard anything about it, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2022. And that's also going to lead into another point I was going to make, is that we are going to get nothing, almost nothing, I should say, for like the next 6 months.
Oh yeah, the holiday season this year is going to be so dry. It's going to be weird.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be a desert of new video games, which means you need to be either A, going through your backlog, or B, looking at what I would consider your B team of video games. So things like this next topic actually have a big chance to shine. And that is that Aliens Fireteam was announced.
Dude, I'm kind of ashamed to admit I'm more excited about this than I was about seeing this tiny bit of Elden Ring. I could also blame the quality of that like handycam footage for not getting me excited.
Fair enough.
But this sounds fun.
Yeah, no, for those who don't know, Aliens Fireteam, this is the Aliens game that Cold Iron Studios mentioned they were making years ago. I will say out the gate, I thought they said they were making an RPG, but I guess I'm just wrong on that. I can't find anything that suggests that they were ever making an RPG.
It's happened before, it'll happen again.
And no, I'm not getting confused with the Obsidian RPG, that Alien RPG they were making. This is what I thought Cold Iron was making. Anyways, Aliens Fireteam is the new 3-player co-op PvE shooter set in Ridley Scott's Aliens universe. It's going to be out this summer, 2021. Going back to why I wanted to mention the whole glout is that this game has a good chance of succeeding because there's going to be nothing else launching alongside of it, except for one big exception, which I will mention later. And it's going to be on PC, PS5, Series X, PS4, and Xbox One. That means it is going to be designed for old gens and ported up. Unfortunately, that is something that I think both you and I do not like at the moment.
Yeah, but it's the way things are going to be for the next year or
At
two,
least a year.
and it's especially with everybody working from home. It's possible that this game was supposed to be announced late last year and it just wasn't.
Yep.
Right?
There's a lot of that going on too, for sure. The game will have 4 campaigns consisting of 3 missions each. Every mission time is running about 40 minutes, so it sounds like there's a good chunk of game in here for this style of game. This, at first blush, reminds me of a cross between Vermintide / Left 4 Dead, but you throw in a leveling system that you'd find in Call of Duty or Dead by Daylight.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
It
this
just
strikes me as.
it just sounds fun. I'll play that probably,
The problem...
provided they make it cheap enough or put it on Game Pass or something.
The problem is, David, this style of game is going to become very saturated very quickly this year. Because not only do you have the new Warhammer Vermintide, the 40k version of Vermintide, Dark Tide.
I believe.
Dark Tide. You also have Back for Blood, which is made by the OG Left 4 Dead devs.
Yes.
And then you have this coming out. Total Rock Studios. I don't know if they're still the same name or not, though.
There's also, so correct me if I'm wrong, but that Outriders game that Square's working on.
From what I understand, that's more like a Borderlands thing. The demo was out. I didn't really take... I've been so in the dark about Outriders. I really don't know much about it. But it looks like it's...
The reason why I'm throwing that into this conversation is because when I originally heard about it, I thought it was just a loot shooter. A la, it's a Division 2, it's a Avengers, it's a...
That's what I thought too, but I'll be honest, I've not done my due diligence on this.
Something I read on that game recently, which I could be wrong, yell at me in the comments if I'm wrong, I love hearing about that, is that it's not a live service game.
My interest in that has shot up significantly.
Yes, I read that sentence and went, wait, this isn't a live service game? This is a game I can pick up with a few friends and actually play and beat? That makes me way more interested. So that's why I'm throwing it in here, as it's another multiplayer co-op PvE shooter set in a static campaign-based universe, right?
I don't know if I would consider them the same thing, because Outriders has like a bunch of loot drops in it that are reminiscent of Borderlands when I think of it. It seems to fall more into the Borderlands Destiny category than
I'm just thinking
that
a group of people
Horde.
that pick up Aliens Fireteam probably wouldn't also pick up Outriders. The people that pick up Outriders probably won't also pick up Back 4 Blood.
I don't know. I feel like that Venn diagram has some crossover, but not as much as you're alluding to.
Maybe.
That's my stance. I would say the harder thing they have to overcome when comparing it specifically to Back 4 Blood and Dark Tide is the fact that the Aliens franchise, when it comes to games, it has been way more missed than hit.
Yes, that's true.
I mean,
Isolation is the only good one from recent memory.
Yep. But we all remember Colonial Marines. We all remember it. And there are some... I was watching this trailer, and I couldn't help but notice this trailer had... I mean, it's Alien, so it's going to look familiar one way or another. But I'm looking at this going, wow, this could be one of those pre-alpha builds we were lied to about before Colonial Marines came out. Like, just looking at it, that's what I kept thinking over and over again. Yeah. So
got to be worried about that stuff. Don't trust trailers anymore, everybody.
Correct.
It's spooky.
That said, I would love an Alien Left 4 Dead or an Alien Vermintide or whatever classification. They call it survivor shooter. I think that's a good name for this genre.
That works. Okay. Where you're trying to get through a level, but you can die a bunch of times and
start over. It's you and a small group of people versus wave after wave of stuff that can kill you very easily if you're not coordinated. And I do like it. By the way,
Stealthy Twitchy, I would definitely play Creative Assembly's Aliens game.
I love Aliens Isolation. Man, I love Aliens Isolation. I would love to... I wish they would do a second one, but Creative Assembly is also working on other games that I love quite a bit, including the upcoming Total War Warhammer 3. So... Can only ask so much from them. Let us know what you think about this Aliens Fireteam battle, by the way. I will say it's not what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting a survival shooter from them. I was expecting either another first-person shooter or, like I said, an RPG. For some reason, I had RPG stuck in my head. Don't know why.
There you go.
David, Pokemon had its anniversary a couple days ago. So why don't you go ahead and break down what was announced then for us?
It did. So following the heels of the rather lackluster Nintendo Direct from last week, there was like the do they call it a Pokemon Direct, or I don't know
I think it was
what
just called the
title.
Pokemon Anniversary Stream, but it's essentially Pokemon Direct.
Pokemon Anniversary. Anyway, we got some information about some new Pokemon games, which some people could be quite excited about. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which are the old DS games, are getting remaster re-releases coming late 2021. They are Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but it looks more or less like the same Pokemon game with a fresh coat of paint on it, so it kind of does have that better looking textures, up res a little bit. New info on Pokemon Snap, it's actually going to be released at the end of April this year. So I know people are excited about Pokemon Snap because we haven't had that since N64 days.
It's actually a new game on the Switch, not a port.
Look at that, a new Switch game. Super exciting. Also a new game on the Switch that people have probably heard about already and is getting tons of comparisons to another major Nintendo franchise, the Pokemon Legends Arceus, I think is how you say that guy's name.
I have no clue.
Was shown off. Arceus? I don't know. Anyway, this is the new open world Pokemon game from the main Pokemon team, Game Freak, that looks so very much like Breath of the Wild with a Pokemon.
And that is very clearly what they're going for in that trailer with the way they shoot some of the scenes. They have like the camera going up past Link's back and then over the vast horizon. That is definitely the image they're trying to invoke.
Yeah, you can find a ton of comparison images online of like shot for shot spots where the Pokemon trailer looks like the Breath of the Wild trailer from so many years ago. And that's funny, but it's interesting to me that this is a twist on the Pokemon franchise. It's not the regular, like, linear looking game that they have been for the last, 20 years? I don't even know when the first one came out.
I want to say the first one came out like in 88 or 89. That franchise is very old.
Well, not 80s. It's definitely not an 80s franchise. It's a 90s franchise.
I gotta look this shit up now.
There's no way Pokemon came out in the 80s, bro. Pokemon did not come out when Mario Brothers did.
Late 89, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's take a look. Let's go here.
Pokemon Red, when did it come out? Let me know.
I'm looking on it right now. Franchise began Pokemon Red. Oh, 96. My apologies.
There you go. Because it's a Game Boy game.
You know what? That's why I thought it was 89, because the Game Boy came out like in 88, 89.
Gotcha.
That's why I was thinking that early.
Anyway, those games all kind of play the same. This one looks different. The big thing that people are excited about is that the remasters are not being made by the main Pokemon studio. They're being outsourced to somebody else. And the main Pokemon studio is working on this neat-looking open-world game. So I know a lot of people are actually really excited about this, and I thought I'd talk about it. There you go.
Do you have anything you add to it? Because I'm not a Pokemon guy. I barely know the names of maybe 5 of them.
The first Pokemon game I ever played was the one that was on 3DS, because I'm a weird age where Pokemon showed up, and I was like a little bit too old to think it was cool, but a little bit too young to just play it unironically and have fun.
All right.
I was that's a
baby's game. You have to use your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I missed the whole bus on Pokemon, but I know a lot of people love it, so
I appreciate that they're doing something new with it.
Yeah, that's exciting, right?
Yeah, that is kind of exciting. And for people who are still like, no, I want my old Pokemon, we got the remakes of Diamond and Pearl coming up, so there you go. David, we mentioned the disappointing Nintendo Direct. Let's move on to the disappointing state of play. So before I get into exactly the state of play, I just want to say right now, guys, to all of you watching, if you're working for Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft, you gotta start bringing some panaz to these things.
Where are they gonna get panaz from, bro? We just talked about there's no video games being worked on.
This one at least had something that kind of made me sit up a little bit toward the end there, but there's nothing in here that couldn't have been just done in a normal announcement. I didn't need to sit down and watch this for 30 minutes.
Yes, but at least it was 30 minutes and it was not an hour.
That is also true.
For that, because if you watch it in 2x speed, like some assholes sometimes do, it's 15 minutes. It's casual.
Right. So what I'm going to do here, David, is I'm going to go through the recap of what was shown, but I'm not going to stop unless you either, one, you want to talk about it, or two, there's a couple things I want to mention about it. So I'm going to go through these and somewhat, kind of like what we did with Direct. I think that's going to be the standard operating procedure on these things from here on out, where I just kind of list things.
Otherwise we drag them on forever and ever and ever.
And if there's something you want to talk about, stop me. Okay.
That includes you, chat. So if
yes, please, by all means. First up, Crash Bandicoot 4 on PlayStation 5. They showed some of that.
Woo!
Second, gameplay for Returnal. Now, this looks fun to play. It's Housemarque is making it, so I have very good faith in their ability to pull off a great gameplay game.
Here is my only concern. I am very excited about this game because I'm a big Housemarque fan, or Housemarque, however you say it. And I think this game also looks great. This is right up my alley, but I'm not going to play it.
Yeah, it's $70.
There's a lot of people. You want to know why?
$70.
It's on PS5.
Oh, and on PlayStation 5. Yep.
Yeah.
That is, I have gone into my fears of Housemarque's future before. I am afraid that they don't exist after this game because this game could be amazing.
It's still impossible to get a PS5.
Yeah.
And $70 for a roguelike is not a good way to spend your money.
Yeah. This game has a lot just built in against it right now, which sucks because, one, the gameplay does look fun. Two, I love this time stuck in a time loop thing, which we'll also get into later on this direct. And three, there's more of a psychological horror tinge to this than I thought. If you watch that trailer, the astronaut, I forget her name, she comes across her old house and starts exploring that. So now you're starting to get into like the mindfuckery stuff with the roguelike gameplay, with Housemarque's typically stellar and phenomenal gameplay. This game has a lot of stuff that speaks to me going on for it. I just don't... And even then, with all of that, I have a PlayStation 5, and I'm still grousing about spending $70 on this.
Yeah, maybe they'll add it as a PlayStation Plus game.
Yeah,
it seems like the best idea for them to do it.
Seeing too expensive in chat, so I think that we are all kind of on alignment with that. And what bums me out is that if this doesn't strike gold,
I can safely say I'm not going to spend $70 on a video game.
Just in general, period.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. If $70 is the new gold standard for new games, guess what? I don't buy new games anymore.
Yeah, I wait 4 months for them and then buy them on sale.
When they're $20.
If it's something that I'm not streaming, but yeah.
Yeah.
David, back to the list here. Knockout City. Sifu.
Sifu looked neat, but I need to know more about it.
I know that is the team who made Absolver.
Okay.
It looks to be focused on hand-to-hand. I'll be very curious to know how it plays, how it controls, because it looks very complex for hand-to-hand combat.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks, just from the trailer, that every time you die, you come back. It also has like that death coming back to life and trying it again. But you get a little bit older each time. It's like sucking your youth from you.
It does look pretty cool, but I definitely want to see more. So
potential
I don't even know
here.
How far along it is.
Coco for Taco says Sifu did look neat. Yeah, this falls in the category of games I want to play, but other things. If it came out it has to come out at the right time.
Yep.
Or else it's going to get lost. Solar Ash.
So what's funny is as soon as this started, I was like, Hyperlight Drifter 3? And
yes. It is made by the Hyperlight Drifter team.
Yes, and I like those games, so I'm interested, at least, in this game.
Right. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach.
I don't care.
I would rather watch Wally's Wonderland.
I'm going to watch Wally's Wonderland.
For those who don't know,
weekend plan.
Wally's Wonderland is a movie that just dropped recently, and it stars Nicolas Cage trapped as a janitor in essentially Five Nights at Freddy's pizza place.
Except for, instead of being a traditional horror movie like you would expect from a Five Nights at Freddy's property, where, the person's getting slowly murdered by animatronics, it stars Nick Cage. What happens when things come to try and kill Nick Cage on average in a film?
He either gets lit in a giant wicker man or he beats the hell out of him.
Yep, and this really looks like it leans on the second one. So I'm so excited to watch Nick Cage just beat up a bunch of animatronics.
I have heard something along the lines like he has literally less than 100 words that he speaks in this movie.
Perfect.
He's just quiet for most of it.
Grunts and machete action. That's good enough for me.
Oddworld Soulstorm.
I was never an Oddworld guy.
I was always kind of an Oddworld guy, but it never really grabbed me. I will say that this being free on PlayStation Plus, if you own a PlayStation 5, means that I'm going to be playing this one for sure, because I've always enjoyed those games, but they do get kind of puzzly. They're more puzzle games than anything else.
Yeah, because they're like kind of adventure platforming games, right?
And I don't love those games, but if they're going to give it to me included with the PlayStation Plus subscription, I'm definitely going to play it.
There you go.
Kenna and the Bridge of Spirits.
I think this game looks fun.
Yeah, do you remember Cameo at all?
Nope.
Yeah, no one does. It was an Xbox
Like where you
360
pay for
launch.
actors to say stuff?
No, no, no. Though if you want Adam Jensen from Deus Ex to say I didn't ask for this, you can look up Elias Tofexis on Cameo and have him say it to you.
I still want to get a crowdsourced group of people to pay David Hayter to redo the entirety of Metal Gear Solid 5.
Like pay, I think it's like 30 minutes. I think it's like a $50 for like 30 seconds of audio on Cameo. So everyone just chips in $50 for like 5 hours.
Everybody just chips
audio.
in, and we just completely replace Kiefer with David Hayter and MGS5.
This looks a lot like Cameo to me. For those of you who know that was an Xbox 360 launch game.
Mm-hmm.
It is coming out on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and Epic stores August 24th, and it's retailing for $40.
Look at that, $40.
That's a game I might want to buy. I'm definitely looking for that. I liked Cameo. It wasn't great, but I liked it. And this game just reminds me of it for some reason.
Yeah, like I said, I just think it looks really fun.
Deathloop. Speaking of really fun.
I'm going to let you talk about Deathloop first.
Okay. The more I see this game, the more goddamn hyped I am for it. Because I love Arcane's level design. These are the guys that made the newest Prey, Dishonored 1 and 2. If you've ever just wanted to explore a level, these guys do it. Their level design is up there with IO Interactive's when it comes to New Hitman, for example. There are so many ways you can get through an area. I was kind of meh on it when I first saw it announced, but I have grown to love its art style. The 70s/60s spy fiction style of visuals on there really speak to me. It reminds me a little bit of No One Lives Forever, if you ever remember that old Monolith game back in the day. The time loop, it seems to be something that every game is doing to death now, because you have this doing it, you have Returnal doing it, you have, we literally just talked about it, Sifu doing it. So that seems to be this year's zombie stuck in a time loop. And that trailer they showed for it with the grindhouse style vibe and the James Bond theme music, I really want to see it. And my excitement for it went up even more when I found out you're not timed. They did a kind of like Deathloop Explained video with one of the lead developers on it, speaking for about 3 minutes on it. And he was very clear to say, while it takes place over the course of a day, you don't have like an artificial time limit built into it, so you don't feel like you have to rush through it. You just go until you get killed, and then you start the day over again.
So now that you've talked it up,
okay,
my hype for this game is going the opposite direction.
Really? Okay, go on.
I thought it looked really cool when we saw that first reveal, but the more I see of it, the more I feel like it's being like overdone and that it's trying too hard. And the newest trailer, I can't tell you exactly how. Maybe it's just my stupid brain. But you know what vibes I was getting? Like huge red klaxon alarms in my brain while I was watching the new trailer? Brink.
Brink, really? Oh, shit. I didn't even think about Brink.
Yes. Do you remember Brink?
Yes, I very much remember Brink.
The Bethesda shooter that was supposed to be the bee's knees back in the Xbox 360 days.
Yeah.
That turned to be a huge flop and not a very good video game. I really desperately hope I'm wrong, but I'm getting Brink vibes off of this and I'm worried about it.
Did you ever play Dishonored?
Yes, and I don't like Dishonored.
I don't think you're going to like this then, okay? Because when I'm watching this gameplay to it, he's blinking around everywhere. I looked at it and went, that is fucking Dishonored gameplay right there. And if you like Dishonored, if you want to have a good time, YouTube some bullshit people do with Dishonored in that game, where like I've seen clips where someone like shoots an explosive in the air, straight up, and then he spends 3 minutes murdering everyone in this level, and then stops and sees the last guy walking like on patrol, and that explosive he shot in the air 3 minutes ago finally comes back down and lands on him.
I mean, that's neat.
You could do shit like that in that game. And that's what makes me kind of excited for Deathloop. But if you don't like that gameplay, then that is not... I can see why that's absolutely not going to be for you, which is a shame. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I am super excited for Deathloop. David?
Yeah, that's the problem when I get a cinematic trailer and then I see gameplay and I'm like, I don't know if this is for me.
Fair enough. There's one more thing that State of Play showed.
Of things. Let's talk about
I'll let you talk about this one because you just love these names.
You know me. I just love the way Square Enix names video games. Let's talk about the fact that Final Fantasy VII Remake is getting a PS5 upgrade, but of course it had to have its own separate fucking name, and it's called Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Because of course it is.
Yep.
I don't know. It's got better lighting, better texture, better fog effects. It can run either in 4K resolution or 60 FPS. So
I thought the PlayStation
quality.
5 was supposed to stop that bullshit, by the way.
Yeah, that's what you would think, which makes me think it's not actually a proper upgrade. It's just an upres.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? There is also a side story that has Yuffie in it and some other character that was made up completely for the side story because apparently Yuffie's in Midgar for some fucking reason because they're just going to reuse assets of this game that they spent forever making. That's just the first 1/5 of a game that they're slowly going to release over the next 20 goddamn years. I don't know. I got really mad about the whole 7 remake thing recently because I realized that they took 5 hours of content and stretched it out. They did The Hobbit.
I thought they did a good job with it, though. I played that game. I had a lot of fun with it. I was like, okay, nothing in here feels all that padded.
It does. You're just not looking at the right thing.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. It's a fun game. I like the combat system. It's neat. But for what I know is supposed to happen, Sephiroth is not on that disc. He's not.
Yeah, you see a sword or something like that, yeah.
Like, he has this big dramatic reveal in 7, and in the remake, he's just everywhere you look.
I liked what they did with the remake, though. Because I keep saying that Final Fantasy, the spoilers for a game that's a year old now.
We don't even need to spoil it. You like it, I don't like it. They're remaking it for PS5, except for they're not actually remaking it. They're giving it an upres, but they're going to add an extra piece of content. If you own the PS4 version already, you will get the upscaled PS5 version at no cost, but you do have to buy the Yuffie side story separately. They also announced they're going to give away 7 Remake as the PS Plus game for March.
Yep, starting
However,
today.
if you download the PS Plus version of Final Fantasy VII Remake, you are not eligible for the free PS5 upgrade. You have to actually own the game to get the free PS5 upgrade. So if you get it from PS Plus, you still have to pay for the full PS5 one if you have it on PS5.
Yes. That is correct. So keep that in mind. I will say, though, in defense of it not being padded like you were saying it is, they added so much more extra, like,
bullshit
character depth that explains like some members of Avalanche. There's a lot more conversations that I think are fitting to the game to help fill things out. It sets up the story better than the original Final Fantasy VII did. Furthermore, one thing you have to keep in mind, Final Fantasy VII Remake is not Final Fantasy VII being retold again. And I've said this a couple times. I am convinced, and I think I can make a good argument for it, that Final Fantasy VII Remake is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII.
Fair enough, but I just don't care. Like, I just don't have the energy.
All right.
But we've had the conversation that as a guy that loved like RPGs growing up, I just don't have the time anymore. I can't get into them. And even with a fun new combat system, when you ask me to go recover all the cats, you can get fucked.
That mission took like 2 minutes. I ran around, found the one, went here.
I'm sorry.
That's a typical RPG thing, though. So
I'm not stupid gameplay, and that's how I'm gonna react.
All right.
I'm just salty. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah, you're unreasonably salty on this game, I think.
Because I've made the realization that the next iteration of Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 Hyperbole, or whatever the hell they're gonna call it, is going to be a PS5 game, and it's not going to release on PS4. And at the rate they're going, we won't see the third game, which will probably be the fifth of the games they're going to release on PS6. Like, I'm expecting this to be 5 games at this point.
All right, fair enough. They refuse to give how many games it's going to be, so I can
because they don't know, and they spent so much on this first one that I'm really hopelessly worried that it's going to go the way of Final Fantasy 13.
That just gets really goddamn. 13 was the one with lightning.
Which is the one that they just said, "Oh, we're not going to keep releasing content for it."
That's 15. That is 15. That was annoying because 15 had a chance of being one of the better Final Fantasy games out there.
And then
they filled in the story, which is why I'm fine with them releasing 10 different Final Fantasies because I don't want any. 15's biggest downfall is that jump right out of the plot.
7. I'm worried that 7's going to be so episodic that they're not actually going to finish it.
I don't think that's an option for Square. They have to, but we'll see. Coco for Tacos in chat says, I'm going to be honest. Every time I hear Final Fantasy come up in conversation, my brain shuts off. It looks so much like that it looks like so much that I got turned off with the remade, remaster, remake 3000. Not saying they look like bad games. It's just so much. Fair enough.
I feel you, Coco.
David?
Yes.
We got a couple of mixed stories come up. Nothing necessarily as big. But, I mean, they're big stories, but they're not going to take too much time to get through. Let's start with this first one right here. Mediatonic, the company that makes Fall Guys, they joined the Epic Game family.
Those guys got paid.
Yes, they did. We don't have details on how much money changed hands, though. But from the blog post, we're thrilled to announce that Tonic Games Group is joining Epic Games family. Tonic Games is the development company behind the hit sensation Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. For Fall Guys fans, your gameplay isn't changing, and Epic will continue to invest in the game, making it a great experience for players across the platforms. Your favorite colorful beans will stumble through the chaos on PC, PlayStation, and soon Nintendo Switch and Xbox. Joining forces with Epic will accelerate our plans to improve the game and bring Fall Guys to as many players as possible while continuing the support of the community. David, if you have like some kind of Apple device and we're hoping to play Fall Guys on mobile one day, you ain't doing it on Apple, given Epic's current combative stance to Apple. But if you got Samsung, you're good to go. What do you have to say about this, if anything, besides they got paid?
I do like Fall Guys. I wish them the very best, and I hope desperately that this doesn't mean that the game's going to go free to play imminently and go to just ridiculous amounts of microtransactions.
I mean, they already have a degree of microtransactions in them because you can buy outfits, you can buy crowns.
That's true.
Believe.
And it's, a totally profitable decision on their part, and I understand the logic behind it. They have a base amount of people to play it. The game wouldn't necessarily change. You can still play it, but I don't know. Epic doesn't really bother me all that much, but as you remember, I finally got hit by the epicness of everything when they bought Psyonix, and Rocket League did what it did.
I would just look to see if Fall Guys was on Steam, and it is, by the way. I was just curious.
They did announce that it's not being removed from any platforms.
Yeah, there's no way it would be. That would piss people off.
Yes.
Let's see. Stealthy Twitchy in chat says if they're smart, they would have taken some Epic stock along with the cash. I don't even know if they would offer that up. If you're at the top, maybe you get a little bit of Epic stock, but I don't think that would be. I don't think it'll be much. But what do I know? We don't know the details of the deal in particular.
Mm.
I don't think people hating on the Epic Store is a thing anymore. And what I say by that is, yes, I know that there are people out there that are pissed off, but it doesn't have the groundswell that it once did.
If you actually click through and read their tweet about it, it's nothing but rip Fall Guys. That's the only comments you can find are people just talking about. Well, that game's over. This shit's over. Fuck Epic. Yeah.
And by the way, it's not over. We just don't care.
Which makes me laugh still.
Yeah.
But, we'll see. I still like the game.
It just doesn't feel as fever pitch as it was when Epic Game Store really first buying the exclusive stuffs.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely feels like it's died down. Coke for Tacos. The people that comment don't even play it, I bet there's a lot of that. Or there are a lot 100%. Of people who will... It's either, I'm going to bitch about it and never play it, or I'm going to bitch about it and play it anyways. It's never, I'm going to bitch about it and wait a year until it comes out on Steam.
2/3 of the 0 reviews on Last of Us 2 are from people that didn't even play the game.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as a exaggeration. I mean, if you read the reviews, a bunch of them say, I didn't even play this shit because it's garbage and it's a 0.
Yeah.
People just love to hate.
I did play it. That game is garbage.
Is it a 0?
No, it's not a 0. I would say it is like a 6 out of 10.
That's not a 0.
We got some bad news coming up for the next ones right here. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, let's go with some bummer news, and then we'll follow it up with some more bummer news.
And then we'll end with some bummer news.
There you go. Several employees at the Seattle studio Hardsuit Labs announced on Twitter that they were laid off. The lead narrative designer, Samantha Walschlager, HSL has made the decision to do layoffs today, and all of us on the narrative team were effective. From writer and narrative director Anna Webster. So unfortunately, there were layoffs at Hardsuit Labs, and the entire narrative team, including myself, were affected. This comes close to the announcement that Hardsuit Labs is being taken off lead development of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, and the game being delayed to 2021. So
the entire narrative team
everybody
has gotten the axe.
So we had already talked about the fact that that game was delayed, and it sounded like it was being put all the way back to 0.
Yes, this
This
more or
is-
less kind of confirms it.
Everything that they've been working on for the last year and a half is gone, and they got fired.
Yeah, they got rid of their story team on an RPG.
Yep.
Like, let that process in. This game is fucked. They are going back to square one on it. I wouldn't be surprised if we just hear this game slowly get canceled. It sucks if you get laid off from Hardsuit Labs. Layoffs are never fun. I don't know how much total of Hardsuit Labs has been let go. I don't know how many people are part of that company. We'll see in time. I'm sure someone will have a write-up about it somewhere. But this kind of cuts to the root of the problem that we were alluding to last week, that Hardsuit Labs might have just bitten off way more than they can chew with this one. Because I think the only other game that they done was, Blacklight?
Yep.
And it's not like that game set the world on fire. And there's such a... So Bloodlines, the original Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines, is a cult classic, but it never really had a big following. It's the reason why Trokia Games shut down, is because that game never really took off. But it has now enough eyes on it that they have to knock out on the park. And it's even more critical that a company nails, especially an RPG based on a beloved franchise, that they nail it out the gate these days in wake of Cyberpunk.
Yep.
Because tonally, these stories have a lot. The settings have a lot in common. Not vampires with science fiction, but with their pen and paper RPGs. They are
kind of
highly
transcribed into a video game.
anticipated by their fan base. They have been somewhat dormant in the video game space for years. There's a lot of parallels between Bloodlines 2 and Cyberpunk, and I guarantee you Paradox is aware of that. So
It's just a bummer.
Yeah, we never like reporting when people lose their jobs. We don't have,
And yet we do it constantly.
Yeah, certainly seems so. We don't have exact numbers, but for sure at least 3 people have been gone. That could be the composition of the entire narrative team, but we will see. I'm shocked that there has not been any kind of official statement from Paradox on this yet.
Yeah, and there's nothing written on the actual Hardsuit Labs website or blog that I saw.
That's shocking to me, but hopefully we'll get some more news, and if we do, we will report on it next week. Hey there, Morathon, how are you doing? Thank you for joining chat. Oh, David.
You want to take the next piece of bummer news? My
David.
my $4.80 bet that didn't pay off.
Anthem NEXT. The long, I don't want to say anticipated, but the long viewed planned
detailed
to
roadmap.
improve Anthem has been scrapped. To the blog post from
We
BioWare.
all knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Since about the end of April, after Anthem was released.
Yes. Which
We all
I
knew it was
think
happening.
Anthem came out in April.
Yeah, I think it came out at the beginning of April, I thought.
In the to the blog post from BioWare. In the spirit of transparency and closure, we want to share that we've made the difficult decision to start our new development work on Anthem, aka Anthem NEXT. We will, however, continue to keep the Anthem live service running as long as it exists today. Game development is hard. Decisions like these are not easy. Moving forward, we need to laser focus our efforts as a studio on strengthening the next Dragon Age and Mass Effect titles while continuing to provide quality updates to Star Wars: The Old Republic. David, a couple things. One, COVID definitely fucked this.
Yeah, because they weren't able to really make any progress, so they didn't have anything to show for it after a year.
Not only could they not make progress for it, but they couldn't make progress on their other games either, on BioWare's other games. So they were constantly taking people off of this team and putting them on Dragon Age.
Yep.
Because, as I've said repeatedly, my prediction is that if Dragon Age is not a knockout home run hit, if they suffer another Mass Effect Andromeda or Anthem, BioWare is fucking done.
Well, and they also pulled the lead designer that was like the head of the Anthem NEXT development and positioned him to Dragon Age the middle of last year.
They've been
early last
bleeding
year.
developers on Anthem NEXT for a long time.
It's been a while.
And I think it is... I think if COVID didn't happen, there was still a greater than chance this game would have been getting canceled. But COVID guaranteed it. to be canceled. And yes, I think you're right, Stealthy Twitchy. I think BioWare is the next Visual Games. I think
It's just a bummer. There's bones of a good video game in Anthem, and it makes me sad to see it abandoned. But like many an EA property, it's just not going to see the light of day because it wasn't profitable. They didn't get enough dev time, and they don't want to fix their mistakes.
I'm surprised that they did mention Star Wars The Old Republic in here, and then I did some research on it. Apparently, The Old Republic is very profitable for EA now.
Interesting.
Because it's a 10 or 11-year-old game at this point. I remember when it first came out, it was one of the most expensive video games of all time. And BioWare kind of ate a lot, or EA kind of ate a lot of shit on it because it wasn't nearly recouping its development costs. But as it enters its 11th or 12th year, it's actually pulling down a profit now. You checking into that there?
No, I wanted to double check to make sure I wasn't wrong about something else that I wanted to talk about before we leave this topic. So
they do name drop Mass Effect as well. But that I guarantee you Mass Effect is in pre-planning. It's probably 5 people working on some concept art and maybe a general plot outline for the story.
Yeah, it's all hands on deck for Dragon Age, but the thing I wanted to double check is Dragon Age related, which I'm sure you saw it the other day, and it's definitely related to this. I was going to mention this. I think
I know what you're talking about.
Is the fact that there's reports that have come out that Dragon Age 4 will, for so happy times, thank you EA for getting your heads out of your butts, Dragon Age 4 is supposedly not going to be a live service game.
Correct.
And it will actually be a single-player RPG Dragon Age title.
Yes.
Which, if we recall, Anthem is a live service game that crashed and burned.
Yeah.
Mass Effect Andromeda, hey, look, that was kind of a live service game that crashed and burned.
They directly reference Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order as, hey, single-player games can actually sell a lot of money if they're doing well.
Yeah, if you make a good video game, people will play it. It's weird how that works.
Yeah, it's just wild, huh?
Who knew?
Yeah, so I think this bodes well for the next Dragon Age, that they're not going to be wasting resources on Anthem. It sucks that Anthem was what it was, because as you and I have both waxed poetically about, the gameplay to Anthem is some of the most fun multiplayer gameplay I have ever seen in a game of like a live service game.
Flying around in the jetpack suit, so fun.
There is something extremely satisfying about running, taking off, and then landing immediately.
Like that opening hour, like the quote unquote like vertical slice that we actually got, was so fun with a group of people.
Yes.
Until you realize what a hassle the loot was and how little of it you got. And the fact that there was nothing to do. Oh.
It could have been great, but it wasn't. And that's what makes Anthem so much more tragic.
Yep. Anyway, good job, EA. Killing another thing.
Thanks, EA.
I still haven't forgiven you for Dawngate. Bastards.
We got one more story rounding out things here. Why don't you go ahead and lead us off on this one, David? And then we'll move on to
this one is kind of crazy to me. So this is from the Video Games Chronicle, which we use frequently. Sources say that PlayStation is winding down Sony's Japan Studio, which is the last in-house actual Japanese Sony studio, because as we've talked about, Sony up and moved the entirety of their headquarters to California. Sony is no longer in Japan.
No, they're based out of California, essentially.
So yeah, they're like not even a Japanese company, but they are. I don't know how any of this works if you no longer have a physical presence in a place. But yeah, Sony Japan Studio, the iconic developer behind Ape Escape, Gravity Rush, Knack, everybody loves Knack, has seen the vast majority of its development staff let go. As the sources said, after their annual contracts were not renewed at the company's next business year, which begins April the 1st. The localization and business staff will remain in place, and Asobi Team, the group responsible for the Astrobot games, will continue as a standalone studio within Sony Japan. So I think they're actually like upscaling Asobi to be a proper studio.
And to be clear, there are still studios in Japan. For example, Polyphony is still in Japan.
Yes, but it's Sony Japan, dude.
Yeah, this is the house that had Team Ico on it.
Yes.
But I think that The Last Guardian is one of the reasons why this studio just got shut down. Because if you compare what this studio has produced recently, Gravity Rush, Knack, The Last Guardian, and then compare it to
what they were doing
Spider-Man,
on PS2, PS3,
The Last of Us, Uncharted, their American studios are clearly outpacing the Japanese studios when it comes to sales.
That's fair, but how much support are these guys getting, considering the fact that Sony moved to California? just
Sure, but
saying.
Sony
I'm
still,
just
it's
saying.
not like Sony doesn't have a massive presence in Japan, bro.
I
It's
know.
not like they closed every studio down and
No,
just
they're
packed up.
gone. All the doors are locked. They're gone. Anyway, that aside, some Japan studio staff will be joining Asobi, and like I said, they are getting moved to being a proper team. So I think their building's probably just going to become Asobi Studio. Maybe they'll rename it. Who knows? Others have followed the Silent Hill and Gradius director Kichiro Toyama, who left Japan Studio last year. And
Yeah.
a lot of people have been leaving the studio over the past,
studio's been bleeding talent.
months.
Like a lot of people that worked on Bloodborne, for example, don't work here anymore. They've been going off and forming their own studios and doing their own thing. David,
But there you go.
that sucks that another studio's closing. It sounds like the people have been told about it well in advance, though, especially if they're just bouncing out, or they might have seen the writing on the wall. We'll see. We do have 2 delays I want to mention real quick. One, Destiny 2 The Witch Queen, which is supposed to be Destiny's next big expansion, is getting delayed till next year from Bungie. As we began to scale production on The Witch Queen last year, we made the important decision to move its release date to early 2022. So it sounds like they knew this was coming for a while now, for the way that sentence is phrased. Because as they scaled production on The Witch Queen last year. Also important to note that as such, they will be adding in another expansion. Because remember, it was supposed to be The Witch Queen, and then they had Lightfall, which is the code name for their final expansion of this story arc they're working on.
Oh, yeah.
They're adding in another expansion between Witch Queen and Lightfall. So expect another 3 years of whatever this set of Destiny content
I hope it's good. I played the last expansion, and now the game's super boring. There's nothing to do.
Yeah, you got back into Destiny again hard there with Beyond Light, and you were doing it for about 2 or 3 months, and then...
Yep, and then I ran out of stuff to do. And they pulled out all the old guns, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't fun anymore.
Well,
Bye.
things like sunsetting and stuff are gone too, so just keep it installed.
Yeah, I love that decision that lasted all of 4 months. Good job, guys.
Also delayed is the Cyberpunk 1.2 patch from CD Projekt Red's Twitter.
Hilarious. As a note, if you're watching this later, we're airing live on the 2nd, and this was supposed to come out in February. So yeah, obviously the Cyberpunk patch gets delayed.
While we dearly wanted to deliver the 1.2 patch for Cyberpunk 2077 of a time span we detailed previously, the recent cyber attack on the studio's IT infrastructure and extensive scope of the update means this unfortunately will not happen. We will need some additional time. We're now aiming at a release for the second half of March. This was not done in their traditional yellow backdrop style that kind of became a meme online, because I think that all humor has been drained from CD Projekt Red over the past 3 months.
This is just a regular old tweet.
Yeah. So if you were looking forward to that Cyberpunk 1.2 patch to fix I don't know what, because I saw some of the patch notes they were talking about improving, I was like, this does not do anything to change the core gameplay that needs to be fixed. Well, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. David, it is going to be years before Cyberpunk is any kind of playable state. Years. I'm not... That's not even exaggeration. I think it's going to be at least 18 months to 24 for them to get out all the stuff to get that game into at least a shadow of what was promised.
We'll play Anthem next before that game's fixed.
Yes. In the meantime, because I can't be fucking half-assed to wait for anything, I need something to play this week. What can I play this week?
Immediately. Well, I've got a few video games for you. Nothing huge, but there's some stuff you can do. First up, we've got Foregone hitting PC this week. This is a side-scrolling action platformer, 2D action platformer filled with loot and pixel art. Collect an arsenal of powerful weapons and unravel a compelling story of regret and conspiracy as you slice your way through hordes of enemies to save Callaghan. Art style-wise, it gives me Dead Cells vibes. I think this looks fun because I like side-scrolling platformers. So there you go, take a look.
I played this yesterday, so shout out to Papa.
Shit.
Yeah, shout out to Pop Agenda for giving me the code. It was fine.
Oh no!
You can watch the video on demand in the video tabs here at twitch.tv/GamePoints if you're so inclined on checking out the gameplay to it.
I'll just not trust you and assume it's great.
Okay.
Anyway.
That works out for you so well.
I know, doesn't it? Maquette hits PS4, PS5, and PC. This is a first-person puzzle mystery game. It's a recursive puzzle game that takes you in a world where every building, plant, and object are simultaneously tiny, and staggeringly huge. This looks kind of neat if you're into those puzzly first-person games.
It fucks with perspective quite a bit, and that seems to be the new standard for a lot of these puzzle games. Think like, what was it, Subliminal?
Okay, yeah.
I think that's the game I'm thinking of.
We have. Oh, dude, this is right up your alley. How about Monster Jam Steel Titans 2? I know how much you like monster trucks.
Now, if it was just called Steel Titans, I would think this is a Robot Jocks game, and I'd be all over it.
Right? I'd play that. PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC. This is a racing sim sports exploration game. This is confusing to me. I don't remember ever talking about Monster Jam Steel Titans 1, but from what I'm looking at, this looks like a pseudo open world monster truck racing game.
What?
Like the levels look huge from gameplay videos. I could be wrong. I don't know how many people care about monster trucks. I don't know what the Venn diagram's like on our audience and monster truck viewers.
When I was doing my game crazy GameStop retail days, this fell to the same category as like the Colin McRae rally games did, where they would come out and you had your very hardcore group of people who would come and buy it like that one day, and then not a single copy would ever sell again.
Well, who knows? I mean, I buy the rally games, so who am I talking to? But anyway, monster trucks. If you guys like monster trucks, you got a video game. There's a new Harvest Moon game coming out this week for PS4 and Switch. This is Harvest Moon One World. And unlike a lot of the other Harvest Moon news I feel like I've had in the last 6 months, this looks like an actual Harvest Moon game. So that's exciting. If you have no idea what that is, it's a farming sim. Yeah. You guys ever play Stardew Valley? Well, that was based on the old Harvest Moon games. So there you go. I like making the reference because that's a more recent Harvest Moon than since the last time Harvest Moon was actually a Harvest Moon game. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Is that just me? Anyway.
No, you figure that franchise would be doing way better than it is.
Yeah, it's got 5 different areas. It's got grasslands and beaches and deserts and hills and snowy mountains, and you're on a quest to revive the harvest goddess, and you can raise and keep animals. You're expanding a farm. You're running a farm. It's very casual, fun kind of game for people. Yakuza Like a Dragon hits PS5. This is the 6th Yakuza game, but it's not Yakuza 6 because this is a turn-based Yakuza game as opposed to the action game that the traditional series is.
Every week that goes by, I get closer and closer to starting the Yakuza series.
Right?
I really like.
There's so much content there. You just gotta wait for them to get all of them Kiwami'd.
Yeah.
I think because the first 4 of them are like PS2 games.
Yeah, they're really old at these days.
Although keep in mind that if you go to play any of the older games, they kind of feel like a PS2 game. So expect a lot of like kind of zaniness, button tapping.
Why I haven't gotten into it, because I don't know if I can go back to a PlayStation 2 style game.
Yep. I'd say maybe try Yakuza 0 and then maybe Like a Dragon because it's turn-based and it still has a lot of the silly humor and stuff going for it. Ground Zero Texas Nuclear Edition hits PS4 and PC. This one has got your name written all over it, Steve.
I legitimately own the Sega CD version of this game.
Of course you do. This is your very favorite style of video game, an FMV.
I'll be right fucking back. You keep talking about this game.
This is a sci-fi shoot 'em up. If you have no idea what an FMV game, it's a huge thing from, I don't know, way back in the day when Steve was more of a youth, where it takes live action footage and puts a video game over it. So you have real actors reading really cheesy dialogue and reacting to all these events where you're basically playing as a menu and you're telling characters what to do. They've recorded all these different scenes. So you make this one decision and all the actors will do this. You make this other decision and they suddenly do this.
David, I have in my hand, I'm showing up on camera now, the Sega CD copy of Ground Zero Texas. It's so old, you'll notice the rating on there says MA13. This game came out before the ESRB existed. Now, I mean, that's not that necessarily a big claim to fame, right? Because the fucking Super Nintendo didn't have that stuff on there. But Sega CD specifically had 2 kinds of games on it. Japanese role-playing games, in the name of like Lunar, etc. And these cheesy-ass full-motion video games like Night Trap, Sewer Sark, Corpse Killer. And I loved every single one of them. Because my little brain was blown that I had actors on the TV talking to me.
And you were controlling them.
And I was controlling them.
You made their decisions for them.
My favorite's still Double Switch, which I have somewhere else as well, because it starred one of the Corys in it. I can't remember which one. The one that's dead.
Haim.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, go. If you need to rediscover the magic, Ground Zero Texas Nuclear Edition.
No, because I also know that while I love those games, they're all shit.
Thank goodness. I didn't want to just say it right to you, but man, I don't know who this game is for, but FMV games are dumb.
Yeah,
you were a stupid child.
They are, and it's weird because there's kind of a weird resurgence to them, and I don't mean the reboots, but there's things like The Bunker and Her Story, and Black Mirror did Bandersnatch. So there's like this weird resurgence of the FMV game that just.
I just don't know who's playing them.
I mean, I love the genre, but I'm not even playing them. I can tell you that.
If you guys have to know what made old school Sega CD magic, you can tune in to Ground Zero Texas.
Yeah.
Also, this week, Sir Lovelot hits PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. One of my new favorite genre descriptions, because I don't have to tell you what the game is. It is a precision platformer. Right? Like Super Meat Boy.
Yeah.
Or Celeste. Or, I don't know, any
I'm told
game where
Celeste
you have to
is
jump
amazing,
and not
by
die.
the way, and I haven't played it.
Celeste is really good. You should definitely play Celeste. On a quest to find the love of his life, join Sir Lovelot in this wacky type platformer where impressing cheeky damsels harder than a heart of stone. Anyway, descriptions aside, it looks pretty fun. 3 out of 10 Season 1 hits Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, and Switch. Man, I hate reading the new Xbox name. This is a bit of a twist on the like game dev tycoon genre, where you're playing a game studio who has yet to make a game that is scored better than a 3 out of 10.
I am immediately concerned by the addition of Season 1 to this.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that either. But you're basically trying to turn a game studio around. So, it looks as neat as any of those other like dev game things are. If you're into that simmy-ness, maybe have fun. Cave Bad is a horrible name for a video game, but it's also out this week on PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is a roguelike adventure game in a pixel 8-bit style where you're picking up your pickaxe and plenty of bombs to set forth in a treacherous dungeon. This, looking at it, makes me think of as if Bomberman was a roguelike. So, take a look. Kill It With Fire hits PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is a action sim comedy game. It's first-person game about hunting spiders and causing collateral damage.
It reminds me a little bit as if you take Job Simulator, but put down a spider that you're trying to smash.
Yep. Get that whole like Surgeon Sim vibe going and try and kill spiders and accidentally destroy things. It looks pretty fun. Mortal Shell hits the PS5 and the new Xbox this week. This is an action RPG that tests your sanity and resilience in a shattered world. I'm going to say it because I've played it, and I can safely say that this is very much a Souls-like, and it wears its references on its sleeve.
I hear it's a decent Souls-like at that.
I actually think this game's pretty good. I think it's very fun. It's got neat mechanics. It uses this shell system where you'll actually find like these abandoned bodies, and they're the different classes, and you inhabit them because you're more of like a ethereal being than an actual person. And when you're killed, you don't die immediately. You just get shunted into your like ethereal form where you're very, very weak. You can still dodge, you can still attack, but if you get hit again, you're basically dead. But if you can get back to your body, you'll come back. So it's kind of a neat twist. You can also turn yourself like back into a statue. And so it's got this interesting kind of parry mechanic that they call the harden mechanic, where you just, I don't know, turn back into a statue of the character that you're playing.
Okay.
And it will cause like a parry type thing, and you can counter attack. I don't know. It's fun. It's, like I said, it has bonfires. It's got a central hub world. It's got other characters to talk to. It's got like gothic architecture. It's so very Soulsian, but I liked it. So take a look. Everhood hits Switch PC this week. This is a 2D RPG like music story game, an unconventional adventure RPG that takes place in an inexpressible world filled with amusing musical battles and strange, delightful encounters. To put it simply, you're in for a ride. This looks like an RPG where the combat is a rhythm game. I actually think it's neat.
Yeah, you remember Crypt of the Necrodancer?
Hell yeah, I love
this. Reminds me of Crypt of the Necro Guitar Hero. It's kind of a bad port move, but the combat looks like Guitar Hero, but the style reminds me of Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Okay, yeah, I see. I follow you eventually. And last but not least, we have Loop Hero hitting PC and Mac this week. This one you're already out of before I even talk about it. This is an RPG strategy card game. And I know you don't like card games. The Lich has thrown the world into a timeless loop and plunged its inhabitants into never-ending chaos, wielding an expanding deck of mystical cards to place enemies, buildings, and terrain along each unique expedition loop for the brave hero. So you
So
kind
it's
of
not that I hate card games. It's just that it is a genre that struck really white hot with a few releases, and now everyone's trying to cash in on it. And that genre suffers the same fate as the zombie survival shooter, as what I was saying,
the roguelikes,
the
the open world
roguelikes,
survival
yeah.
games, the loot shooters, the battle royales, the every other thing that's had clones.
Yeah, you have one or two really great examples, and then a sea of mediocrity to crap. And the gulf between the standout examples of that genre and the mediocrity is extremely wide.
Yeah.
So if I hear your game has like card mechanics in it, I just tune it out immediately because it is greater than chance that it's going to be bad.
And even if it's not bad, it could just be not as good as the last one you played.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble. We've talked about that I like roguelikes, but ever since I completed Hades, I'm having trouble getting into them again.
Yeah, because you would rather just play Hades if you're going to play that. Yes, Morathon in chat says suffering from success. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And this is, to go back to a game we were talking about earlier, Foregone. I liked playing Foregone. It was fine. But it takes mechanics from like 4 or 5 different games, all of which those games did way better, to the point where I'd rather just play those games.
Bummer.
It's not that Foregone is bad. It's just that if I want that kind of gameplay, I can think of a handful of other games I would rather play that are going to scratch that same itch. And that is unfortunate for some genres. Card battling.
Well, that's a bummer way to end new releases, but that's actually all I have for this week. So, sorry, everyone.
David, if that does it for new releases, that means it's also the end of the show as well. And this has been GamePoints episode 254. Thank you all for showing up. We do stream live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. Please feel free to join the conversation like Coco for Tacos, Delphi Twitchy, Morathon, and to everyone else who happens to be lurking as well. If you can't join us live, however, you can also watch old shows of the podcast over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC. You can email the show at gamepointspc@gmail.com with any questions, comments, concerns, etc. that you might have. You can follow the show over at Twitter at GamePointsPC, myself, Stephen Brown, at CapitalistPig21, and David there at Palshlife_Satori. Regular streams of random games are Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and the podcast will once again be back this Tuesday. But until then, stay safe, take care, and we're out of here.